Today we're doing two college football player props here on PrizePicks for Saturday, September 30th. Before I get started, you guys, there's a link in the description below. You guys can sign up for our premium Discord. You guys, $9.30 per month, 31 cents per day. It's where I post all the plays I'm making on PrizePicks. We also have some other premium cappers in there that post all of their research, plays, and analysis. So again, super positive community. Go ahead and check out that link. Also, need to mention I'm not a gambling expert, and this is not financial advice, you guys. These are simply just plays I'm personally looking at making. Hopefully, give you guys some insight and analysis to then make your own player prop decisions here. Again, no one is pressing submit on those parlays other than yourselves. But yeah, let's not waste any time, you guys. Let's just get right into this video. Two college football player props here for Saturday, September 30th. Let's not waste any time. Let's go. So the first play is going to be a wide receiver play. It's going to be a fantasy score. It's going to be Duran Bradley or Duran. Over 14.5 fantasy here against Houston at home. So Duran Bradley had a great end of the year last year. Started off pretty strong this year. Has had a fantasy score games of 22, 19, 8, and 12. Right, but he lost his starting quarterback. Texas Tech quarterback Tyler Shue is now out. I'm pretty sure for the season with a broken leg. So they're going with their backup quarterback here. Backup quarterback is Duran Morton. I'll get to him in a second. But we take a look at Duran Bradley. He's obviously leading this team in targets. Look at the targets this season for him: 14, 8, 7, and 10 targets for Duran Bradley, kind of across the board this season. And he's there without question, the number one wide receiver. The second backup the number two wide receiver is questionable for this game. If he is out, just even more targets for Duran Bradley here. But I just absolutely love this matchup, you guys, for Duran Bradley. First of all, weather in Lubbock, Texas is supposed to be absolutely immaculate, 84 degrees. Weather should not be a factor in this game at all. But like I said, the backup quarterback, Duran Morton, right? He's a backup quarterback, but he's like a quarterback that has experience. I think he's thrown over like 300 passes now in his career. This isn't just a young freshman or anything like that. This is a quarterback that has some significant experience in this offense, right? He's been at Texas Tech for 3 seasons now, and then he came in that game against West Virginia. In that game, again, super cold, rainy, and windy game, he finished 13 for 37, 158 yards and a pass touchdown. And actually, that passing touchdown was, in fact, to Duran Bradley. And I believe with Duran Bradley and Morton as his quarterback, I think he saw about 7 targets. So he was, without question, his number one target, his go-to receiver when Duran Morton got into the game. But taking a look at this, right, Duran Morton, like I said, he started a couple games last season, right? And he played pretty well. Like, he's got multiple 300 passing yard games here, right? And he played this game at Oklahoma State last season on the road, where he threw the ball 62 times, 379 yards in the air, and threw 2 touchdowns. And if we take a look at Duran Bradley's game total for that game, right, Duran Bradley with Duran Morton as his quarterback, 8 catches, 119 yards, and a touchdown, which for Duran Bradley last season was one of his best games. We take a look at his fantasy score total, 28.9 fantasy points in that matchup. Now he gets an absolute elite matchup here this weekend, or I guess Saturday, against Houston. Now Houston, PPR fantasy points to the wide receiver position, you guys. Houston, the second most PPR fantasy points to the wide receiver position, as well as the second most overall total fantasy points per game to the wide receiver position. So you guys, they're giving up 42.1 fantasy points, PPR fantasy points to the wide receiver position across the board. Houston's defense is absolutely horrendous, you guys. Like, literally absolutely horrendous. We take a look here. Houston's defense, right, in the Big 12, they're giving up 407 yards per game of total offense. 407 yards per game of total offense. They're giving up 25 points per game, which, again, without question, is the second most in the conference. They've given up 100 total points through 4 games. Houston defense is absolutely horrendous. Like I talked about, they give up the second most PPR fantasy points. Let's just do standard as well. I mean, Houston, wide receivers and per game. Houston, most overall fantasy points per game, not PPR. Most overall fantasy points per game, without question, in the Big 12. And even if we sort this kind of like by like nationwide, like just nationally, right? Fantasy points per game, like Houston is still pretty high up there, considering they are, Power 5 school. They're right here. So Houston, I mean, there's not a ton of Power 5 schools in this upper echelon of, I guess, teams that just give up a ton of production. So it's a great matchup for Duran Bradley. We look at some other matchups Houston has had this season, right? They placed Rice and got blown out. Or that was actually kind of a semi-close game, 43-41, a shootout. And number one wide receiver for Rice Luke McCaffrey finished with 7 catches, 99 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Another wide receiver finished with 7 catches, 82 yards. And then another wide receiver finished with 4 catches, 69 yards, and a touchdown. So, like, literally a line of this here, 4 catches, 69 yards, and a touchdown, will clear the over here for Duran Bradley. We look at the other matchup here, Rice versus UTSA. Josh Cephas, another absolute wide receiver 1 for University of Texas San Antonio, finished with 9 catches, 123 yards, and a touchdown against Houston as well in a pretty low-scoring game on the road. This is a home game for Houston and Duran Bradley. The quarterback's already proven to be able to work and give Duran Bradley significant production. I'm taking the over here on him in this game. I think, like I talked about, just a variety of ways he can get. If he scores a touchdown, it should clear, but he could literally even cash this line without a touchdown. I mean, if we take a look at Duran Bradley and some of this, like his games this season, right? He finished with 12 fantasy points in this game against West Virginia. 3 catches for 30 yards and a touchdown. And that was a super rainy type of atmosphere, super rainy type of game. It was hard for both teams to get completions in that one. So that gave him 12 fantasy points, right? 2 more catches, and he would have hit the over on this. Or 3 more catches, sorry. It would have hit the over on this. So just a variety of ways for Duran Bradley. I'm expecting closer to 20 fantasy points for him in this game. That's going to be the first play. It's going to be over Duran Bradley, 14.5 fantasy score. And then the second play is going to be an interesting one. It's going to be a pass yards combo prop. And I've actually been trying to target this game specifically, but it's going to be Jaden Daniels and Jackson Dart over 537.5 pass yard combo. Now, just right off the bat, 537 yards, this is the combo, right? So just doing some quick math, I'm going to go with the calculator on my phone for you guys. If we do 538 divided by 2, that's only 269 yards each, right? 269. And both these guys are averaging a little bit more than that this season. So we take a look just at this game, right? Look at this over-under, 67.5 over-under with a 2.5 point spread. Without question, the highest over-under with the closest spread of any game this weekend. I mean, we take a look at just some other comparable games, right? 67.5, keep that number in mind. If we go to like the Colorado USC game, which I think has the highest over-under on the slate at like 71, that's a 21.5 point spread, right? 21.5 points. So obviously blowout risk and things like that. With a 2.5 point spread with the 67.5 over under, we know there's going to be a ton of passing, could absolutely be a shootout. Now, we take a look here at last season. I think these two teams faced each other last season. Jackson Dart finished with 283 and Jaden Daniels finished with 248. Pretty sure combined that's like at least 530 yards between those two. So in this matchup, obviously Jaden Daniels, much more prolific of a passer this season. He ran for 121 yards on the ground in that game. Jaden Daniels definitely trying to show, I think, just to NFL scouts that he can be a little bit more of a pocket passer. So, I mean, if Jaden Daniels, he's like averaging well over 300 passing yards per game. We take a look at Jackson Dart, right? Jackson Dart this season, he's had 334, 267, 251, and 244 in 4 matchups this season. And then Jaden Daniels as well has had games of 347, 269, 361, and 320, right? We saw Jackson Dart face Georgia Tech, and him and Haynes King combined threw for 307 and 251, right? Well over this line of 537. We look at Jaden Daniels just last week, LSU and KJ Jefferson, 320 and 289. That's over 600 passing yards combined for the two of them, right? We get both of these lines here as well. If we take a look at Outlier, again, there's a link in the description below. You get a 7-day free trial with Outlier. Again, in my opinion, the best research tool in sports betting, you guys. Absolutely the best research tool. I use this tool every single day. Link in the description, you get a 7-day free trial. But we look at Jackson Dart. He's favored minus 120 to go over 255 pass yards. Minus 120, and then Jaden Daniels is over on Caesars over minus 127 to go over 283.5. So 284, 256. That is like, I think it's like 5. I'm actually gonna do the math. Honestly, I don't know how good I am at subtraction, guys, but let's just do this, right? I'm doing this on my phone. 256 plus 284. We're looking at 540, right? So we get a little 3-point discrepancy based on the odds and where they're kind of at. For the combo prop at 537.5. So I do like this quite a bit here. We look at LSU and Florida State. Jaden Daniels and Jordan Travis in that game almost threw for 700 passing yards combined. Actually 599, super close to 699. Sorry. We look at LSU, like I talked about. They've been in some shootouts this season, but I definitely think both these teams ranked on the road for Mississippi State. It has just the absolute environment, you guys, of both these guys being able to throw. I think one of these dudes for sure, Jackson Dart or Jaden Daniels, is throwing for 300 yards. One of them at least. One of them is throwing for 300 yards. So if one of them throws for 300 yards, all we need is 240 from the other one. Again, both of them could throw for 300, and this would be an easy over. But just with the game environment being 67.5 here, we've already seen Both these guys be in matchups where this over can be easily over. And then also just take a look at, 537.5. Michael Penix and Bo Nix is at 672.5. Penix and Joe Milton 634. Joe Milton and Rattlers at 529.5. Caleb Williams and Clay Klubnik at 581.5. Carson Beck and Caleb Williams at 603.5. So at 537.5, you guys, without question, the highest over/under on the slate, with the spread being the absolute closest. I like the over on this play. So here are the two plays for this YouTube video, college football Saturday. Let me know in the comments below how you guys feel about these two plays. Check out all the links in the description below. Again, drop a like on this video, hit that subscribe button, and as always, let's cash.